Hello and welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Radha Nelia, and today we have a very special guest, Miss Tara, who is a master business coach and feminine embodiment mentor. She's the creator of an online temple school for the divine feminine, and let's just say she creates high-ticket courses and helps women really step into their divine feminine power financially as well. So welcome, Tara.
Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
This is so amazing. I really love this conversation we're going to have today on the childhood wounds affecting women's leadership, sensuality, and prosperity. Would you mind telling us just a little bit about you, and let's just jump right in.
Yeah, awesome. Totally. So I'll try to keep my background a little bit short because, we could go on for a long time. So I used to be a corporate banker living on Wall Street in New York City. I grew up right outside of New York City with immigrant parents from Ireland. So I really grew up sort of with this mentality to go to college and get a job that was going to pay well. Hence how I ended up in corporate finance, which wasn't really my love, but that's what I did. And, around my Saturn return, around 29 and a half, I had a spiritual awakening, as so many people do have a major transition in their life. And that did happen for me, where I was realizing that this work wasn't meaningful to me, even with the money and even with the sort of notoriety that I had this really fancy job working for a Fortune 50 company. I didn't really care about it, and I sort of started to spiritually wake up, read some books, and really start to recognize my power to co-create my reality. So one of the first introductions was the law of attraction, really understanding that what I think about and my sort of energy field was real and I'm not a victim. And all of this was super life-changing for me. So kind of fast forward, within 6 months, I got laid off from my job, which I manifested, of course.
Good job.
And then I traveled, actually. I had went on a spiritual sabbatical for total 6 years. So 3 years in India, in Thailand, Bali, in Australia, New Zealand, and Europe. And then I moved to Tulum, Mexico, and I lived there for 3 years. So all the places I traveled to were a lot of spiritual hotspot vortex places that probably and many of the listeners here have heard about. And I was really studying everything on the flip side of what I had spent my life studying, which was economics and business. Wow. I was studying metaphysics and yoga and tantra and embodiment and even some psychology, healing arts, anything to do with mind, body, spirit connection, holistic kind of way of living. And I started my business from living in Tulum. I started leading yoga retreats, and then I started coaching online. And it just sort of naturally started to happen where, women were coming to me wanting to kind of create something similar, for their life. They were hearing the call as well, and they wanted to do something similar. So I'll just link that little bit of a history to the title of what we were going to jam on today, which was that I had always built a lot of success for myself. That's really not something that is difficult for me. I I know how to create success or even money. However, it was always coming from a hustle and grind, masculine way of being that I had learned. And I didn't really understand this feminine way of being until I started to journey and, go on my travels. And so then even after building a $500,000 a year coaching business, I burned out and sort of went into overwhelm and risked so many of the things mostly were still affecting how I was operating in life today. And ultimately I was feeling really unfulfilled, even though I had created a lot of outer success. And so I've done a lot of deep work around that and learned that so many women are feeling the same way, that even if they've created success or they haven't, but they've been trying and somehow it's still not happening. And I realized that these are actually nervous system unconscious, invisible wounds that run the show to try to keep us safe because we probably didn't feel safe as a child to some degree. And unless like actually excavated, I call it, you know, unless we actually go there, this will continue to run the show. And I just firmly believe that like female leaders are so needed right now. So this message is really important for that reason.
It's so important for that reason. It's so true. I can definitely relate to that. And I do see like a lot of the women doing great work. You know, the histories usually come with a lot of turbulence in the childhood, a lot of pain, a lot of wounds that have also been catalysts for like healing and saying, hey, I want to change the world. I want to change myself. I want to change the way we're doing things. But at the core, we always have to come back to ourselves over and over again. We can't escape that, you know?
100%. Exactly right. Like so many of us have, like we chose actually a lifetime of some kind of wounds, potentially abuse, like some trivial circumstances to inform, you know, kind of like who we are and what we want to do in the world. But, you know, and I guess like also, but unfortunately, some of what we've learned in the spiritual world as we learn to wake up was a lot of bypassing, was really like a lot of moving out of what actually happened to like just positive thinking.
Just smile, just be happy. I can never get with that program. I'm like, no, that's not going to cut it. Because if you're full of, if you're full of shit, then you're going to, how can you help people? You got to deal with your own first. And you got to, I'm really into shadow work. You know, I think shadow work and deeper wounds are powerful to getting us back on track. So this is an incredible journey that you've had because you were on Wall Street. And I just go, wow, like that's amazing. You were definitely in a man's dominated world. Like that's the playing field of like the alpha male of our society, you know?
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, I can relate. I was a producer working with a lot of, producers in Hollywood and running in that circle, trying to do a lot of that stuff in the way that men do it. And I mean, it just burned me out too. It was unbearable how things are handled. Like, it's just like, get this done, this, everything is like, get it done now. And like, I could achieve it, I could do it, but I was really suffering in the process too, because it wasn't taking care of myself at all.
Yes, it's not sustainable. And like we learned this both, you know, from our families potentially, but all of it really comes from a conditioning of this, you know, patriarchal society that we live in, you know, that I think most of us are standing for, that starting to shift into more of a feminine, like not just more feminine, not all feminine, but an equal balance. So, you know, what I really stand for now is helping women understand how they can run their businesses, leveraging the power of both the feminine and the masculine. We need both.
This is
it's
so
not
true.
one or the other.
I think that's the most powerful piece, is bringing in that we actually need the masculine aspect as well.
We do.
Because so many women are like, we're all just going to do it feminine. And then what happens is there's an imbalance because we just want to go feminine. But then we realize, well, gosh, I mean, part of masculine is holding space, and part of that is also like the financial, you know, energetically speaking, just energy wise, guys.
100%.
You know,
it's focus. Yeah. It's courage. It's taking action, you know? Exactly. So like we do need that, but we can't do that all the time. Yeah. You know? Then we do get to like understand that our womb is really powerful. Our emotions are really powerful. Our intuition is really powerful. Resting and being in like red tent, temple time is very powerful. Like all of this we need to also start to really recognize how powerful that time is, as well as the time in front of the computer and sending emails and, you know, doing programs and all of that. We do need both. Like a lot of people who are standing for more of the feminine way are like, and then that means that you just kind of like manifest it. Like, you know, no.
I'm like, no, I mean, yes, you have to work hard too. But it does require
both. Yeah. You have to work at it, you know, like you do have to, And what I'm finding so much is like these wounds that are still there, especially for the feminine. Somehow it's women who've really been affected by this the most, which is like this thing of inaction, procrastination, fear of visibility, fear to put themselves out there. All of that are really so much of what are holding women back the most. And so without us really looking at that, you know, it will continue to shadow us 100%.
Yeah. Do you feel women are ready for this? Like in the work that you're doing, are you seeing more women willing to step into it, step up to make those shifts? And also, second question is, how do you find a personal balance in your life?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, I totally do. I wasn't sure. I just started over the last year or so, like really speaking a lot about this based on my own personal journey. Like, and I was actually really surprised in a way how many women on the daily are reaching out to me, whether commenting or sending me DMs. I have calls to explore working with me with women who, I think I told you before we started, you know, they've spent tens of thousands on strategy with coaches and they still don't have a business, you know? And so this idea that there's something other holding them back year after year is like, they're finally getting it. And that feels, you know, I'm not wanting to point out the negative. Like, I just believe we need to develop relationship with this. It's not even about healing it. Like it's a lifelong journey to heal this stuff.
Yeah.
It just means like you start to develop a relationship with that child of you that is screaming at you going like, are we safe if we do this? You know, like, are we safe? And instead of being like, you know, shut up, we don't have time for that. We gotta just like do the thing that the guy said or the girl said to do. So yeah, I do feel like the collective is ready for this, you know, and it's like on all levels of leadership, and especially as women, you know, really rise into more leadership, we're going to need to like just be intimate with this. It's an intimate practice, you know. We talk a lot about the sensual embodiment is all up in that because we're releasing wounds that have been living in that area of the body.
Yeah. And I want to bring people's attention to understanding that, you know, the wounds that are being cleared are not just for the divine feminine, but also for her lineage, her collective. Like we were just joking earlier, like how much work we've been doing. And it's not just us. It's like we are doing collective work. We're getting in the trenches. It's a different kind of work that we're doing. Some people would say, well, it's invisible. But there's a lot of things you can't see in the world. There's strands, there are codes, there are many things and there's a lot of things that we're disrupting. It's almost like the patriarchy had encoded into our realm this sort of heavy, dark, controlling energy, and we're really coming out of we're not quite there yet, but we're starting. You know, a lot of the people doing this work, like yourself and, you know, me, we're starting to unravel some of this stuff, and then we hand the batons out, you know, with the work we're doing, like, hey, you can do it too, but it really all starts here, and the decoding of the old patriarchy. We're really unwinding that program inside of us. It's not only hurt ourselves, but I think it's also hurt the masculine, you know.
Totally.
Because they've suffered too. So also the masculine need to embody the feminine, like in that same, you know, it's kind of like the Libra, like the scales of balance. We're balancing things out. And sometimes we have to see the huge imbalances in the world to really understand that in our vision, wow, this is what's going on. And I'm ready to start, you know, clearing these patterns out because they're no longer serving me, and especially where I want to go. Right.
Yeah, totally. So well said, Radha. And the thing that I really want to point out is, for everyone that's listening, is one of the key things to understand in this society that we've all been raised in, and the codes that are being, like, you know, kind of deconstructed right now, is really about moving out of intellectual, analytical logic, like 100% of the time. You know, so I encourage everyone, even as you listen to this is a cerebral activity to listen or to watch this, but like we need to just be constantly like checking and tuning in with our body. This is what the feminine calls for. And that's something that both men and women in this society have been told not to do. We've been completely moved out of and disassociated from our body. And this could have happened as a child, like by our parents, but our parents just did what they were taught, for example. So it was constantly like to survive, we just moved into our head and we moved out of our emotions. And I do believe that, like, to the extent we, you know, and Goddess says this, Mary Magdalene keeps coming to me and saying this is around heart wounds. Like we need to drop into the heart. As we drop into the heart, like all of the issues that we could go on about in the world right now, you know, they're shifting right now, but they will continue to. And I think that that's the main thing, is like, what are you feeling? And so if you can individually work on that for yourself, which is like the hardest work of your life, you are transforming that for the collective, for sure.
It's amazing. But then it shows up financially too, because when you clear those blocks, miracles really do show up, opportunities, or you get this download of what's next. And maybe that download wasn't available. It was there, but it wasn't available to you until you worked through this wound. Because there's sort of like layers upon layers. That's how I see it, you know, especially with healing too. We receive when we're ready to receive.
Yeah. And one thing I really want to note here, and it's a sort of simple way for, I think, people to start to understand why the money or financial or prosperity like the outer starts to shift when the inner shifts, is, you know, especially from childhood wounds or these emotional ways in which you've potentially moved out of yourself. And maybe it shows up as avoidance to intimacy and relationships. That's also a way that we can see it. The thing that it comes from, sort of like codependency, choosing unavailable partners, or not receiving financial results in your business that you feel like you want to. It usually comes from self-abandonment.
Wow.
And this started really early on in life when you were not honored for exactly who you were. And so then you decided in that moment to survive, to, you know, move out of yourself and actually orient toward other people or other things. And that pattern shows up in just constantly self-abandoning by choosing things that are not right for you, or not good for you, or not healthy for you. So it could be procrastination in your business, like knowing what you can do, knowing what you could be doing, but day after day, somehow you don't do it. This is a self-sabotage, and it's linked to self-abandonment. Or staying with a partner that, you know, is not healthy, you know, a healthy kind of love, not meeting you emotionally, not really committing to you. You are self-abandoning by choosing something that you know is not good for you. So these are the deeper layers, but I think it makes sense to people when they start to hear it, that that's why it happens. So what happens when you start to heal it or integrate it is that you start to choose yourself, because you're no longer self-abandoning. When you choose yourself, you actually do the things, and you stay committed, and you stay focused, and you set boundaries, and you speak your truth, and you have less fear of being visible, because you start being more located with yourself, orienting toward yourself, tuning in with yourself. And this just naturally radiates a higher level of, this is what self-love really is, not like going for a massage and going to yoga and eating like salad, you know, like all that's good. But
eating a salad, I so feel you. This is so powerful. I'm loving what you're saying about self-abandonment, because I think so many people, especially empaths and healers and people that have big purposes, in some ways they have been, you know, I don't want to say like forced to self-abandon, but because of trauma. Let's just go back to that, because I mean, none of this is about blame or shame.
Not at all.
like, this is about empowerment, and I just want to tune in to our viewers. Like, if you're watching this, please understand there's already a transmission coming through, because Tara, you know, has her codes and I have my codes. You're already getting some level of healing here. So just be present that
Totally.
we're not here to make you wrong. We're here to share, because it's so important that we want to get this message out that it is possible to come back to yourself.
Yes.
That, everyone's been wounded in one way or another in this particular realm, and you know that this is the journey home. This journey is a self-love journey, and as we get older and we get a little more mature, we understand that we don't want to do things the same way they've been done before, because it didn't work. It didn't work for the past generations. We are the ones who are going to change the world. And it starts right here. It's not some far out place or some president or something. You know, leadership starts with us. We are the leaders we want to be. We can't go on blaming other people. We have to start taking responsibility for what we are co-creating every minute of every day, right?
Yes, 100%. You're so right.
So I'd like to know, you know, how do you help women get back into their healthy nervous system, as we call it, right? Or start to clear out some of that trauma. It's funny because like both of our throats have been like going, and I'm like, I know we're already clearing stuff, because usually when I'm in a session with somebody and I'm going deep, I'll start to I'll start clearing stuff out. So I just want to say that, like, what we're standing for in this moment, what Tara's standing for, is so big and so powerful that it's already clearing the energy within you, the listener. And that's what we're holding the space for, that, and this transmission and this interview and beyond, you know. So I just love to know, like, your method, or what you know, how do you work with women? Like, say some woman wants to come and work with you, you know, how do you help them? You have so many different like techniques, I'm sure, and also different ways in which you serve.
Yeah, thank you. I also feel major shifts happening right now. So we're definitely transmitting the truth. And so in the online temple school for the divine feminine, essentially we have it's a business course, so it really helps leaders, influencers, and coaches, you know, develop a profitable, like we talk about, multiple 6 to 7 figure business. So setting it up so that, you know, like in terms of business structure, that they know exactly what to do in terms of action. And then it's leveraged. What I mean by that is, like, we're not selling 1-hour sessions for $150 an hour, because nobody can do that. It's not good for the client, but you also can't give your work at a high level. So we talk about like leveraged programs that are higher ticket. And so I really, mostly my genius zone in terms of business is really helping women get intimate. And that's for 2 reasons. One, so that they can speak to their client in a really intimate way, because this is the only way that someone will deeply understand the value of what they offer. So much out there, especially like kind of the bro marketing that we're seeing, or people who are like not in touch with their heart. Their marketing kind of lands flat, and so many women leaders are also not participating or giving their gifts because they don't want to be like them, you know, but they be another way. So we create, obviously, feminine embodiment, integrity marketing that like is really deep and goes to the real deep heart. So say a woman comes to me and she knows she's amazing at relationships and coaching on relationships. I will never, you know, advise her to start putting a webinar together, you know, that's like, find the man of your dreams and get him to marry you in 30 days. Like the collective actually has moved away from this anyway. So no one really responds to that anymore, you know, and that's not because the marketing, like it's because we've evolved and people want depth.
They
And
do.
so that process can be that process is one of what we've already just talked about on this half an hour so far is, you can't speak in an intimate copywriting way unless you've done this work with yourself.
Yeah.
So the second way that I do that is really holding a container for my clients to get deep with themselves. And then particularly as all the stuff that comes up will come up, like fears of being seen, fears of, even charging too much, upper limit problems, all of the stuff, the wounds and the traumas, and also how they can stay in their body, and not get too much in the masculine forcing. So we just like really value a both feminine and masculine approach to it. But, we're all about women creating like multi 6 to 7 figure, businesses doing their divine work in the world.
It's time, because women we really are the caretakers of our families. We really love to give back. We love to give back and serve. How can we help our mothers, our children, our partner? So any resources we have, we want to repurpose it to helping our community, our loved ones. And so, you think about it, women are the ones who are purchasing all the things and for the families anyways. We're really the purchasers of the world. So doesn't it make more sense if we start making more money? Like that's just common sense. Like if we're going out grocery shopping, if we're getting kids clothes, if we're helping our divine partner, it just makes sense for us to be receiving.
And I would just say it's time for us to claim it. Like no one's going to hand us that.
No, I get that.
It's time for us to claim that, right? And say, and yes, I am ready. And I will look at whatever's been holding me back and making me think small. And I was talking with a client yesterday, and she finally got to a place where she realized that, the next step in what we've been talking about for her business, she feels like she's going to have to give up like her free time in order to do that. So to just even recognize that as a block that's when she can start to work with that energy, work with that wound that's coming up, and so we get to claim it, and then we get to look head on at the limiting beliefs that most of the masculine culture just doesn't have, So like, what if it can be easier? What if we can have fun and play and radiance and orgasms and like dance and all of that as we make millions? Like, yes, that is absolutely what we're talking about.
So, that's gorgeous. That's a turn on. I think that's where it's going, because what could be more exciting? I think we're wanting to serve more, and by serving more, we need to also receive more. Because energetically, the balance, and we're also rebalancing the scales of the collective. Remember this, you guys. When you go into the zone of like, well, I don't know, think, whoa, hold on. Every time I take a stand for my worth in the world, what I'm receiving, it's not just me. I'm a template. I'm also a template, right? So this template is encoding others. So it's not just about you. And I think that's so important to remember that, like, I just had this conversation earlier that, like, it's so easy to get caught up in the small self, to get caught up in like, oh, me. And I'm like, no, because if you're here to serve, it's not just about the small me. There's a small me, but then there's the big, powerful me that's here doing great magical work. And part of that, we have to be willing to step into our greatness in order for others. Okay. It's part of recreating a new template. As the old template is disintegrating, there has to be a new one being built. Are you going to be part of this new world that we're creating? It's a new world that embodies divine feminine abundance, empowerment. And as we are here doing that, we're creating balance, we're creating healing. So it is a service to receive more, as we are giving more too, as we are giving so much more.
Yeah, and like every woman gets to really take in the truth of the fact that she has been chosen.
Yeah, I
She has
love
been
that.
chosen. We've all been chosen. There's not another one
Mhm.
like you, you know?
Mm.
And you definitely are carving the pathway for thousands of other women,
Mhm.
just like the ascended master
Yeah.
feminine leaders that we look to now for helping us.
Mhm. Yeah. I have a question. So for those that are, I see that's in comments sometimes, and I just roll my eyes when people are like, "Oh, you're being of service," and you think you can get 6 or 7 figures. Like, how is that being
Mm,
of service? And
mm,
I just roll my eyes, going, "What are you talking about? Why is it okay for like a Kim Kardashian or somebody just selling you lip gloss to be a billionaire?" But why isn't it okay for women who are doing serving the whole collective, doing work you can't even fathom? Why isn't that okay in
mhm.
people's mind? Like, there's some weird thing. Like, if I'm selling you a product, if I'm selling you a makeup, an eyeshadow, you can be a billionaire. That's okay. But if I'm here
Yeah,
standing for the healing of the divine feminine, here standing for others, here recreating a whole grid, helping disintegrate the
yeah,
old, helping release old pain patterns, and bringing forth new feelings into the world through the women we work with, why is that quote unquote not okay? Why is it like such, why is that the mainstream thought? And how do
yeah,
we as women overcome that? I guess it's a projection, right? A projection of fear. And I
yeah,
often see that from like men saying, I love you guys,
yes,
divine masculine, I love you, but I'm
yeah,
just saying.
yes. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, I get it all the time on my ads, particularly. That's where I see like the most of like haters that come along and they're like, oh, yeah, you're doing your, selling your expensive, healing work or something, like hating on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that consciousness is still so much on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it has definitely affected me at times, because the thing is we are like a small percentage of the total population at this
Mm-hmm.
point of those of us who are doing this work. So we don't have a lot of people to look to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but
Yes.
it
The
is changing.
innovators. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it is changing. And we do have to think of ourselves as like we're new paradigm creators. Like this is the
Mm-hmm.
information age. Like more and more millionaires will be created this year than any other year from just sharing information,
Yeah.
sharing knowledge, sharing gifts. So we are in the midst of that 100%, change on the planet of how people make money. And so, of
Mm-hmm.
course, people have been conditioned to think if they sell like candy that kills people, it's totally
Mm-hmm.
fine,
Mm-hmm.
But if or like run a slaughterhouse, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, are you kidding me?
I
And
know.
then like this is normal, yet like doing what we do, which is like, embodiment work and
Mm-hmm.
wound work and helping people like live their destiny, like live their purpose
Mm-hmm.
and experience more pleasure and, have a greater spiritual connection. Like this is not worth it. Are you kidding me? It's like everything.
It's
So we
priceless.
have to know it. We have to
Yeah.
know it and know that we came here as pioneers, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
of this time. We really did.
Ooh, I love that word. That's so resonating. I'm like, I've always said, yes, this is pioneer work. You know what
Yeah,
we're
pioneer priestesses. That's what we came
Oh,
here to do.
I
Yes.
love that. Yes, that's exactly it. We're bringing in a new paradigm with us. You might not get it, then it's not for you. It's not for you.
Yes.
It's that simple. If you don't like it, not to be rude, but get lost. Go look somewhere else.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
want to focus on buying that candy, buy that candy. It's like funny how people's values, like if you're selling something like Pepsi or Coke or something, like you can be a billionaire and that's totally fine, or makeup
Yep.
or something that's actually causing harm and pain and suffering to people. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. You can make money if you're hurting people, but that's totally cool. But if you're helping people, actually really embodied, helping people, changing their lives, turning it around, letting them experience like a whole new perspective, like totally transformed. Oh, yours, that's a gift. You shouldn't be charging for that. Like, that just makes me almost laugh. It's almost a joke, but I understand those people aren't ready for that level of work either, you know? So it's not really for
Not ready.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
No.
I love that perspective, and I love the way that you shared it, because it's time for embodiment on all levels. If you really want to do the work, you're going to have to also ask to be to receive, to get payment, because everything is energy. And if you really believe everything is energy,
Yes.
then you're going to have to be able to open up to really receive the flow. As we receive, we can also serve better and higher and higher. It is
100%.
a give and take. And
if you're broke, you serve nobody.
No.
Like, seriously.
Who are you
Serve
serving?
nobody.
Nobody. Like,
You can't do your work. You can't invest in your business. Like, even just practical stuff. Like, you cannot live well. Then you're stressed. You're leaking energy. You can't take care of yourself. So you are good to nobody.
Nobody.
You know, one of the things that happens when you heal the wounds that I've been talking about is you really do start to love yourself to the point where you see the real value of what you do. And then you really do become relentlessly confident in making offers, because you know that your work is like so transforming. The right people are finding you and coming to you, and you are just like making offers left and right, putting the option out there, because you don't care anymore. You don't have that filter that's like, I'm afraid of what people think. They think I'm a greedy, like money hungry bitch. You know, I'm like, I don't care. Fine.
I love that. It's so embodied, and that's, to me, that's so sexy. I think that's one thing I just love about you. Every time I see your post, I just crack a little smile, and I'm like, woohoo!
Yeah,
woohoo! Because
that's the thing, like that you just said before, Radha, which is that I really do take that in now. Like, every time I do it, I stand for every other woman doing it too. You know, I'm like, you go, girl, go do it. Put some offers out there. You know, like seriously.
Oh, I just love it. This is the new paradigm. And, you know, it's such an honor to meet women like you that are so embodied, that are here in their purpose. And it's important for women to come together, you know, because as we know we're like magnetized towards each other. Like, we're really taking a stand. It's important. It's our purpose. And we can't go without doing what we came here to do.
Yeah, we can't.
You know, I'm in awe of your work and all that you stand for. And I thank you so much for being exactly who you are. And your codes and your divinity is so needed. And especially the financial embodiment work. Like, this is the time for feminine to rise in her finances, in her ability to receive more. We've been givers, 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 givers. And now it's time to receive as well, because then more.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, the broke healer stuff really has to be a thing of the past, you know, like really that effect that people don't value us. We have to stop taking that in and then like feeling guilty and bad about making a lot of money for what we do. So that just has to go. And the other thing I just want to mention here is, like, we have the most amount of presidential candidates this year are coming next year than we've ever had before. And this is because these women have financial means to run for president. And so this is just like an example, right? Of like, without financial resources, these women would not be able to run for president. Yeah. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, we can't also box ourselves into just the spiritual world. Nope. This is like the whole world. Who knows what's possible? And gathering our riches is really important for our work, like on a global level.
This is so true. This is so true. I'm in awe, because what you said is absolutely correct. Like, you know, with the thought of a woman running for president, she's going to have to back herself up financially too, because, you know, it's expensive. If you want to be a leader in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be expensive. That's one of the reasons how the president got into the place, because he had the finances to back it up. So if we want to really change the paradigm of what we're creating and co-creating, there's no more time to play small. These small games to try to be small. It's like,
I'm a healer, and I just kind of like walk the earth on my bare feet, and I don't need anything.
I'm like, no, because also the tools and the training and the up leveling and all of the things. I mean, I know personally, I'm always reinvesting. Always. I'm not just sitting idly.
Circulate.
We're circulating. And so we are the movers and the shakers. So if you're listening right now and you're feeling a trigger, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this right now? And instead of projecting that trigger onto us, which is like how we've been doing it outside, and that's why there's no improvement. If we start taking the triggers and asking ourselves, why do I feel this way right now? Why do I want to post a nasty comment? Or
why is this annoying to me?
Why am I so annoyed hearing this? I don't want to hear this. Instead, ask, well, what is this? Where do I need to heal this?
Yeah, what is it showing me?
What is it showing me? So I want to turn that around, because if you, the viewer, wants to be empowered, you're not going to get your power by trying to chop other people down. You know, by trying to belittle other people for what we stand for. That's not going to make you a greater person. That's not going to give you more power. That's only going to hurt you in the long run. And it may take a while for you to realize that. But let's just shift now, because we don't need to wait and have more pain. Let's just choose to shift in this moment. It's a choice. And I hope that you're also aware of the amount of love that's emanating from both of us in our heart chakras, that we are so in love with this shift, the women and also the men. And that love is asking for change. And so it's not an easy path to take, one where there's so much resistance. So I honor you, Tara, for standing where you stand and being all that you are, because I understand it's like a salmon. You're swimming upstream, really, you know, and I know that. And that's why I'm like, hey, I give you the props, because for what you stand for is something that the world sometimes feels like it's not ready for, and yet it's crying for this shift. There's so many reasons why this needs to happen, you know?
Yes, and not only rich women, we need like radiantly turned on, orgasmic, alive women, you know, like, and those two things for me go hand in hand.
Yes.
They don't have to go, like, you know, not every rich woman is really like turned on in her body, but you know, and not every turned on woman is really wealthy, but like, it's time for both.
Integration.
Yeah. And that's a powerful force that is like quantum leaping us into a whole new paradigm that, you know, doesn't even have to take that long. It's super exciting.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to know you. I'm so excited about your offering.
Love you, sister. Thank you.
I love you so much. Thank you for coming on. And I hope
for having me on
again very, very soon. We can do 2.0s.
Yeah, totally. And if you guys are listening and you want to send us any comments or questions on this, and then we can use that in a kind of follow-up segment. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you receive this transmission and this gift of love and sharing. And I'll put all of her information below so you can contact her and find out what's next for you. So much love and blessings. Until next time. Mwah.